being here. I'm Jason Wallace. I've been lucky to meet quite a few of you already this evening, and quite a few of you, of course, I know already. As of about 5 months ago, I've been CEO of Limestone, so still very new to the role, and quite new to standing up and talking to a group of people like this as well. So I hope I do that justice. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that we gather tonight on Bondi country, where Bungunditj is the traditional language. Auntie Michelle, a cultural educator who I'm privileged to have the opportunity to learn from, taught me that what we call the Blue Lake today was traditionally known as Wawor, after the call of the crow. Wawor, sound that you're all familiar with hearing in the trees. Every time I hear that familiar call, I'm reminded of the long and continuing story of the first people of this region. And I invite you to join me in reflecting on the roles of elders past, present and emerging. I'd like to spend many of my weekends cave diving around the beautiful Limestone Coast, underwater in the region's limestone caves, which were once beneath the ocean and formed over many thousands of years. When I'm in and around those remarkable natural places, I imagine the country as it once was, shaped and known by the Bondi people, the people of the reeds and rushes, long before any of us were here. That's a connection that remains and it will remain forever. And I feel it adds value to our own lives to reflect on the history of the lands on which we live, work and play, to do this with a sense of wonder and healthy respect for the ancient but continuing culture of the place we call home. And I acknowledge the cultural wisdom in the room tonight and the ongoing connection of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people of the country. With that, it's time to move into our proceedings. I hope you find what we share tonight inspiring. For some of you, I've met a few people tonight who were here right from the start. I mean, Limestone started 20 years ago with an idea and a few people talking, and something really big started that continues today. I want to make welcome Limestone chairperson Georgie McKay, someone who serves this community as a volunteer, leading our foundation, connecting with the community and inspiring me with her incredible drive and energy. Please make her welcome.
Thanks, Jason. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our 2025 Year in Review. It gives me great pleasure to see so many people here this evening. What a wonderful testament to the Foundation. I'd like to note, joining us on the live stream tonight is our patron, Dr. Sue Charlton AM, joined by Dr. Peter Charlton and Director Kate Facey, as well as Mark Facey. So a warm welcome from Sue, who can't be here in person, but she's watching. I'd also like to acknowledge the apologies that we've received this evening. There are a few, so just bear with me for a second. The Honourable Peter Malinauskas MP, Claire Scriven MLC, Tony Passon MP, Ben Hood MLC, Mayor Lynette Martin, Deputy Mayor Josh Liner, Mayor Des Knoll, Mayor Lisa Raphael, John Woodruff, OAM, Kate Algano, Damien and Jane Thornhill, Robert and Glenda Mock, Paul Simpson, Kim Grant, and unfortunately 3 of our Limestone directors can't be here, being Donna Jeske, Sandra Parsons and Sally Close. I also offer a heartfelt apology from our other patron of Limestone, being Mr. Doug Balnaves, who couldn't be here this evening, but I know that he sends his warm wishes. I'd like to thank the organisations that have contributed to tonight, first up, and they include the City of Mount Gambier, Jaden Wilkie from the photo lab, thank you Jaden, Tennyson Wood College for all that beautiful food, thank you to the staff and students at Tennyson for that. And the drinks have been provided by Kunara Wines, Balnaves Wines, Hoggy's Estate, Wangalina and the Woolstall Brewery. We are so very grateful for your generosity, thank you to them all. Now 2025, I'm forgetting about this thing, I knew I'd do that. Hang on. And I'll probably, oh there you go, there's the people that I just thanked. Okay, 2025 has been a year of reflection, renewal and bold planning for the Foundation. It's been another year of outstanding impact, and I draw your attention to the screen here. In the past year, we've distributed over $236,000 for local projects and scholarships. We've attracted an additional $110,000 worth of community investment, and we've grown the endowed funds by over 640,000. But these are just numbers, and what really matters is the people and the stories that sit behind those numbers and bring the meaning to what it is that we do. I haven't got time to go through everything, it'll all be ready for bed, so I do encourage you to grab a copy of the annual report if you haven't done so, spend some time during the week in this busy time of the year with a cuppa or something, and enjoy hearing the success stories of our community. In November, Limestone was proud to celebrate 20 years of community impact with a wonderful event at the barn. It was a moment to honour our founders, share stories of generosity, and acknowledge the extraordinary people who continue to strengthen the Limestone Coast through Limestone. Local people creating lasting local solutions. And along with our 20th birthday celebrations, 2025 has been a year of great transition. Nationally, the year brought a major milestone with the federal government's release of the Taxation Administration Community Charity Guidelines for 2025. Wow, that's a mouthful. But it was long-awaited reform that finally gives Community Foundation new ways to grow grassroots giving. Advocacy for this change started right here in this region. And I remember back in 2019 with Bill DeGarris, who's here tonight, Tony Passon and members of our community demonstrating to the Assistant Minister for Charities, Mr. Zed Seselja, who was here in the region, and showing him the shortfalls of the system and the challenges that we faced. This connection with the Minister at that time, or the Assistant Minister at that time, changed the trajectory of our advocacy, and it put us firmly in the sights of government. And from there it enabled meeting discussion, and from that we saw the changes brought through this year, which brings meaningful impact for all community foundations around Australia, and it started right here in this region. It's a really exciting time. I won't go into it all, but Jason will share some more behind the meaning of what those changes are for the foundation going forward. Locally, this year, the board has been refreshing our strategic plan, working closely with Mr. Ian Bird of Community Foundations Australia. Our updated plan will be released early next year, and it will focus on continuing to build the long-term resilience of this region and taking advantage of the reforms that were enabled earlier in the year. Swinging with Stars was again an incredible success, raising record funds thanks to our stars and our sponsors and the energy of the community. We are deeply grateful to our major sponsor for the event, Ray White, Mount Gambier, Robe and Panoa, along with MV Dance Studio and the many people that played a part in creating that showstopper that is just the most wonderful year in, year out. I offer my sincere congratulations to our winners, Brody Virgo and Amelia Clark, and I was hoping Hoggett Merritt would be here, but he's not yet.
He's on the way.
He's on the way. And I want to particularly acknowledge the efforts of Hoggett, who set a new fundraising record and raised over 78,000 as an individual. So well done to Hoggett. Limestone could not operate without the generous support of our sponsors. Their contributions help to fund our operations, and I'd like to thank Trans-Australian Livestock and Freight Management, Raymond Scott Mount Gambier, Track, Total Result Ag Consulting, the City of Mount Gambier, District Councils of Grant, Wattle Range, Tattyara, Kingston and Roe, who all support our work. We'd also like to acknowledge the professional services provided by Sinclair Wilson, Garpins, and we've got Jason Seidel in the audience here. Sinclair Wilson, Garpins, DeGarris Lawyers, and Herbert Smith, Freehills Kramer. And the technical support that we received from Green Triangle Electronics, thank you Michael, who's here in the audience as well, and Hello Friday. We also thank Aussie Broadband and Gabriel Electrical Contractors, and along with our trusted partners 141 and FRRR. The support of all of these partnerships provides a scaffolding that allows us to deliver the lasting impact across the region, and we simply couldn't do it without them. So heartfelt thank you. In this year of transition, we farewelled our CEO, Roger Babolka, back in January, and we warmly welcome Jason Wallace to the role as the new CEO. My thanks go to Sally Close, who stepped in as interim CEO for about a 5-month period, and also to our volunteer board in providing sound governance and oversight of the foundation. Our small operations team, being Jason Wallace and Sally Bailey, they are the engine room of Limestone. Their professionalism and care underpin everything that we do, and we are immensely grateful for their efforts. After 20 years, we are operating from a position of real strength, not only through our work, but also through collaboration with the 5 other community foundations that are based in South Australia. Under a newly formalised agreement this year, together we're addressing the big issues that are facing all South Australians. And although this spirit of generosity has always existed in our sector, this collaboration will bring increased influence, and we're really excited about what we might be able to do together. As we look ahead, we do so with pride and optimism. And in that spirit, I'd like to announce the launch of our new website, which went live just yesterday. It's an incredible testament to our beautiful region, featuring the photographs by Oka Peru. It has an improved user interface, a better layer, and it will provide a lasting tool for raising awareness and impact. Thank you to OCID, the City of Mount Gambier, and to Green Triangle Electronics for their support in enabling this project. The result is truly magnificent, and I encourage you to take a look when you have a moment. And in that spirit, I'd like to share a wonderful story of impact from a recent grant round, which is proudly featured on our new website. So I invite Hayley from the Nurtured Village Hammers Limestone Coast to come up to the stage. Please, Hayley. So, welcome Hayley, and thank you for joining us here today to share your story. Just for your knowledge, earlier this year the Nurtured Village received a grant from Limestone to launch a monthly gathering known as the Village of Support. It offers a safe and welcoming space for young mums, well not necessarily young mums, to connect, helping to reduce isolation and to strengthen their support networks through care, conversation and shared experiences. Hayley, can you tell us a little bit more about Village of Support sessions and what moments stand out most for you?
Yeah, thank you for having me along tonight, and thank you to the Limestone Foundation for providing us with the grant for our Village of Support. I'll quickly recap about the charity first. So we are a maternal mental health charity at a national level, and we're a grassroots charity in South Australia. There's only the Nurtured Village Hampers in the lower southeast and the upper southeast in South Australia, and that's because for a village to form, someone has to initiate it within the community. So Tegan started our local chapter around 2.5 years ago and has done a wonderful job before recently moving on, and I'm here to continue the work. So each month we provide a mum in need with a hamper of items, gift vouchers, food, donations from local businesses to help her through a hardship. And that may be financial, it may be mental health, it may be circumstantial. We've supported mums that have been in Adelaide in a NICU situation, mums that have fled domestic violence, mums that are coping with loss, and a whole range of circumstances. This month we're supporting a migrant family that have relocated to our region and are still finding their feet. So that's a little bit of an overview of our charity, and one of the big things we heard through our work, and Tegan and the other volunteers heard through our work, was this call for connection. When you've got no money, you can't get out, you're early in postpartum or you've got little kids, how do you make friends, where do you meet people, and this was a real standout for us. So prior to this year, we were trying to organise meetups in public areas, so parks, sometimes cafes if the weather was bad, difficult if you don't have money, can't find a cafe that can accommodate a large number of mums, prams, kids. And what we found was we weren't getting a lot of people turning up. We knew the need was there, but people weren't getting there. And the other part to that is, you know, if you happen to get out of the house and you get there, then what do you say if you're in that situation where you are feeling a bit vulnerable or struggling? So the idea came forth to put through the grant for Stand Like Stone, and we were successful. And what the grant was for our village of support. So Stand Like Stone sponsored admission to Arena 51 trampoline park for children, and it provided that safe space for mothers to come along with their kids and meet other mums, I guess, in a safe environment. We didn't have to worry about weather, didn't have to worry about roads and cars, and a really supportive little environment, and probably most importantly was child focused while also supporting mums. So what we quite often see is that the mums will come to bring their kids, but then the connection starts to unfold after that. So we were holding sessions once a month. It was a bit slow to take off, like most things are. So we've been doubling up and holding 2 sessions a month since August, just to make sure we utilise our funds, and it's been quite successful.
Oh, fantastic. Tell me, how have you seen the mums and their children change or grow through their use of this space?
Yeah, it's been quite, I guess, a journey, and I look at my own journey first with, you know, my 3-year-old and 2-year-old that come along every time, and when I first started going there, they don't go to childcare, they're quite shy, they're kind of like, you know, come on mum, on the leg, like come this way, and they've sort of grown in confidence now where they're happy to go off and socialise with other kids, they're happy to explore the playground, sometimes with mum coming down the slide, but also independently as well, and then their skills, I guess, in, you know, balance, they use the big soft play blocks to build towers, they're playing with balls with other kids, so they've certainly developed as well, but I guess what I've observed is, as I alluded to a little bit before, you know, mums might come and it's just getting them out of the house. We had feedback from our surveys that if this event wasn't on, 68% of the attendees would have been staying at home. So it's getting mums out into the community, and sometimes that's the first step. You know, they come along, they might be playing in a corner with their kid, they might be sitting in the cafe area enjoying a drink with their own child, or they might know another mum there. Gradually, as the sessions have evolved, and we do get quite a lot of repeat mums, so the ones that are coming back, you start to notice that they slowly come out of their shell more. They're communicating with other mums, they're exploring through play with their kid, with other kids, and as the kids play, it's quite easy for some, maybe not for others, but I guess that opportunity comes a bit more naturally to say, oh, how old's your child? You know, what have you been doing this weekend? Or, you know, inevitably one of the kids falls over and on the trampoline or bounces a bit, and, you know, oh, I remember when my kid was like that, you know, your kid was crawling last time they came, now they're walking, and it's that informal conversation that gets mums talking. And because I am there every month, sometimes twice a month, I've certainly had mums open up to me as well, and it's comments like, you know, my kids have been asking to come here to Arena 51 trampoline park. I've got 3 kids, we just can't afford it. They asked to come, we can't afford it. I've taken them out of childcare or kindy today so that we can come along. You know, it's really important to us to be able to do that. So that's sort of that facet as well. But also, you know, mum saying it's really hard, and, you know, I've met this person here, and it's great to be able to get out and communicate and, you know, come to this place. It's raining today. I don't know what I would have done if we couldn't come here. So that's been really valuable as well. And then the other really beautiful thing is that it started to spur generations. So we've actually had grandparents come along with their daughter and their granddaughter or their daughter-in-laws to help, I guess, support the play and the interactions, but also to bring that knowledge along. And quite often the comments are, you know, we wish we had something like this when we were going through that. So, and one of the most profound comments came from a woman in her 60s and said, you know, this is just so great. I had postpartum depression after my first child and required a hospital stay, and there was just like nowhere like this where I could go. I then went on to have my second and third child and I was fine, but after that first one it was a really isolating time. So yeah, it's been some really beautiful comments like that that we've had throughout, I guess, our sessions.
Oh, fantastic. Tell me, if you were explaining the Nurtured Village to someone who'd never been, what would you tell them that it has meant for your community?
Yeah, I didn't know how to answer this question when I first saw it come through, and the first thing that came to my mind was it feels like a warm hug, and that's what it felt like to me. It was kind of like that warm hug, that safe space. We've grown our online community where we mainly operate because we're all mums, we're all volunteers, we don't have a bricks and mortar. You know, we're working after our kids have gone to bed or, you know, between pickups and drop-offs or appointments, and growing up to nearly 2,000 members. So to me it was that warm hug, that place to go. And how I know, I guess, that we're on the right track is that we recently had quite a few volunteers move on for various reasons. Mainly, you know, kids are getting older, in school age now. Some of them have been volunteering 12 to 18 months and it's time to go to that next level. Some have been on maternity leave and then are back into full-time work and have had to step away. So I recently put a call out for more volunteers and I was just floored with the response. So that tells me that we're doing something right, but also just getting out into the community and talking to people and, you know, having people say, oh, I've heard of you, or businesses come and saying, how can we help with your hampers or what do you need? Really lets us know that, you know, we're making a difference for our community through what we're doing with the Nurtured Village. And back to our, I guess, numbers with the Village of Support as well, they've actually gone up a bit more than what's published in the general report because we've had more sessions, but we're now here over 320 kids and around 220 mums that have passed through the sessions, and some of them are repeat mums, some of them have just come the once, but yeah, it's quite a lot of mums. And the other really stand out, I guess, statistic that we've had is that, you know, 86% of attendees feel more connected to either the community and the Nurtured Village or just the Nurtured Village. So I think we are really driving that connection locally too.
It's just fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I mean, I'm a mother of 4 boys who are all now young men, but I can still remember how isolating it felt, you know, nearly 30 years ago at times. And something like this just brings the community together. It shows the value of a small grant, $1,500, and look at that impact. It's brilliant. So thank you for sharing, Hayley. Thanks for being here. It is now my absolute pleasure to introduce our CEO, Jason Wallace, and I'll ask him to come to the stage shortly. Jason commenced with us just in June, and he brings a deep commitment to the Limestone Coast and a strong alignment with the Foundation's values. He has an acute understanding of the issues in our region, and in the past 5 months, he has achieved a phenomenal amount of work for Stanley Stone. Thank you, Jason. Please come up.
Thanks for the warm introduction, Georgie, and thanks, Hayley. It's so wonderful to hear how impactful what's essentially a relatively small grant, and how much impact it has had for so many mothers and families, and you shared that so well. Well done, thank you. As we mentioned, it is my first public presentation as CEO of Stanley Stone, so I feel I should share a little about who I am, and more importantly, why I'm here. There's a lot of people who have been here involved with Stanley Stone for many years, as I've mentioned, and some that are probably finding about the place for the first time, largely because I've been getting in their ear when I'm out and about talking to people about it. And really, is why take on a complex and challenging role like this one. There's got to be easier jobs out there, I'm sure, but probably nothing as rewarding as being able to contribute to the community in this way. I don't want to dwell too long on my journey, but I want to share a few aspects of my life that drive my sense of purpose in the role. I grew up on a farm in a small Western Victorian community, and on the screen's a photo of my sister and I riding with our dad on the old Bulldog tractor. And I will mention Mum and Dad have actually come over here from Warrnambool, which thanks for coming. If you're in the old machinery, I'm sure Dad would be happy to chat about the old bulldog and other noisy things. My parents weren't wealthy, but we always had what we needed. We had love, we had stability, and we had opportunities as children and as we grew up. Of course, having farm adventures and a loving family, or any family at all, is something I just took for granted. I thought everyone had that. But over time, I realised that is a privilege not everyone is born into. Not everyone wins in the lottery of life. I did in my own humble way, even going on to raise a family of my own. But I've learned many have not started life with these privileges, and we must recognise our role as part of a community to strengthen one another. I moved to the Limestone Coast 20 years ago as a journalist, and I started at the Border Watch, eventually becoming the editor. And another photo on the screen is some of the team I worked with, celebrating one of the many newspaper awards that we won, with the backdrop of the old printing press. It's unfortunately decommissioned now, but there was a time when the Border Watch and the media today was so important in representing our community. That career in journalism taught me the power of listening, and it taught me the power of telling stories, how they shape our understanding, they build empathy, and they galvanise change when we work together. And there were many times in the paper where we did that. We saw a local issue, we worked to draw attention to it, and we stuck up for our region. It's the time I learned deeply about the Limestone Coast. Its people and its strengths. It's a fantastic place to live. But it's also a region with unique barriers and challenges affect some people more than others. Later I joined AC Care, where I worked closely with a team supporting people experiencing homelessness, young people in out-of-home care, foster and residential care, and families facing really significant challenges. My role included sharing the story of the organisation's work based on my career in storytelling up to that point, building partnerships, fundraising and coordinating events, including attracting guest speakers of the calibre of the Premier, in the other photo there, to the Limestone Coast Support Homeless People luncheon. I really enjoyed building networks with influential people, drawing their attention to issues in our region, things that mattered that they may not have been aware of, and how they could help. But really over that time, over those 7 years, it was engaging with the clients that really shaped me most profoundly, in hearing their stories and what they'd been through and how the organisation had made a difference. And I want to share a few of those moments that still resonate with me today. And these are just a couple. Things would happen every day that stick with you. And I don't think I'll get emotional sharing these ones, but sometimes it's hard not to. One time there was a woman in her 60s, came into the AC Care homeless service. She'd always paid her rent, but post-COVID, rents were going up, and it was beyond her fixed income to be able to afford that rent anymore. She was facing eviction and asked what housing was available. There wasn't anything at the time due to the growing waiting list. We were hitting a crisis point. She asked, where will I put my furniture and things? I don't even have anyone that can help me move them. Nor she could afford a storage shed to put those things. One hardship, the increase in rent, had cascaded into another, leaving her on the brink of homelessness and in desperate need of help. I remember another time, and it doesn't seem much, but it still resonates with me, a young man coming into the homeless centre, and he asked for his caseworker, Kelly, one of the great people in the centre. I said, sorry mate, she's not here. Do you need some help maybe with some food, or struggling to pay a bill, or what can I help you with? He said, no, I just wanted to tell her I had the job interview we talked about, and it went really well. I reckon I might get it. I didn't have anyone else in my life to tell. And think about that, the circles of support I hope you have around you, whether it's family or friends. Hopefully the privilege of having your people in your life you can count on. And that was a moment that really dawned on me that there's people out there that just don't have that network. I could talk about kids in care and their challenges for a long time, but I also want to share some of the really positive things that we see in that space, and that's a foster care family, a family that have taken in kids in the Limestone Coast, and they took in a sibling group. I can't remember now if it was 2 or 3 originally, but another baby was born to the mother, and then another, and each time the family was asked if they had capacity to take in another child. Each time they said yes. They weren't prepared to allow the latest born to not have the benefit of growing up with their siblings. Today they're raising 5 children who are thriving because 2 people decided to give them a home, stability and love. I know I couldn't do what they do, but I can do something to make a difference. I can use what I've been given. The privilege of a stable upbringing, education, good health, mental resilience, to try to make life a little better for people like those I've just described. That is why I'm here. It's why I do the work that I do. Last year, I completed a graduate certificate in social impact at Flinders University. During that time, we learned about how to achieve change together to break down barriers that prevent people from thriving. We looked at a lot of different organisations and what they do, and one stood out to me back then, who was Stand Like Stone. And I realised something important. This foundation, Stand Like Stone, is a really powerful vehicle for long-term generational change. Frontline services like those I've just described rely on crisis funding, and it's vital. It saves lives, and I'd always encourage people to contribute to crisis-based services. They're essential. But the Community Foundation model offers something different, a permanent community-owned endowment that grows over time and can fund long-term solutions to break down the barriers faced by vulnerable people, moving over time beyond crisis support to building resilience and enabling everyone to thrive. Our visionary founders understood this. People like our founding donors that included Brian Page and our patrons Sue Cholton AM, and I hope Sue and the Cholton family can hear us online and are able to follow. And Doug Bellnaves, our other patron. But there's been countless board members, staff, volunteers and supporters over the past 20 years, and I've met a few that have come in tonight that have set me straight on a bit of the history from 20 years ago and their incredible role in that, and I'm so grateful that work happened back then to get us to where we are today. And we stand on their shoulders as leaders who have brought us here. The graph, so hopefully you've picked up an annual report, and I find this image pretty extraordinary from the annual report. It shows how Stand Like Stone's investment of money on behalf of the community from fundraising, donations and bequests has built a growing community endowment that has now reached $6.5 million. That's an incredible amount of money. And I'm not sure what the first donation was. I shoot maybe $100 or something when it first started, or a lot more than that. But to consider that the community has raised that much over those 20 years, and it'll continue to grow, it'll be here for many generations to come. These investments return income, so that we have that money invested, the dividends that we earn on that, that's what we use to provide grants, like the small grant that Hayley talked about and many others across the years, and scholarships and other impactful initiatives. So every dollar invested becomes many dollars of impact, year after year, generation after generation. I recently experienced my first grants round as CEO, where we allocated well over $100,000 for this new financial year to grassroots projects right across the Limestone Coast. I'm really looking forward to sharing the good news with the applicants in the coming weeks that we've been able to approve. They're groups with big ideas, deep local knowledge and a passion to contribute to their communities. We'll see great things achieved through those grants. Next up is our scholarship round, and that's actually Monday night, so there's not a lot of breathing room between all these things. But we'll be looking at that next, and it's another way Stand Like Stone changes the trajectory of young people's lives. I've been really genuinely moved by the stories I've heard from past recipients. And with that, I want you to meet someone who embodies what the foundation is here for, one of those grant recipients. She knows who she is, so she will want to start walking towards the stage. And that's Jess. So Jess faced some challenges early in life that no young person should have to navigate. But she had the right support around her. Amongst those supports was one of those Stand Like Stone scholarship. She used every opportunity she received. She built her future. And here she is today, she's thriving and giving back. So please welcome Jess. So Jess, we'll start with your connection to Stand Like Stone. What difference did a scholarship make in your life?
First of all, sorry my photo is in IMAX. You want to get that?
There was a bigger one, and I thought, no, I won't do that to you. And so that's a little snippet from our website, so you can read Jess's story on our website too.
Thanks, Jess. scholarship and connection to Stand Like Stone was when I was in a privileged situation to actually receive one of them. And that was the LC and NC Myers Scholarship Fund. I hope I haven't butchered that one. But essentially, as a young person, that meant that I now had the privilege to go to university. And so, for me, university was always something I had my eyes and my sights set on. But you know, when you've got certain factors such as either regional distance, financial barriers and things like that, it means for a lot of young people, university isn't even an option they consider. And so when I got the opportunity to not only receive some funds that helped me with my fees at my university, it also meant that, you know, there's a community and it tells you that there's someone that thinks you're worth investing in. And I think that belief is super powerful for a lot of young people.
Absolutely. And we've talked before about other supports that were around you at that time. What were the other supports that were crucial in your success?
Actually, there's a lady here tonight who says it takes a village to raise a child, and that has essentially been my entire life. I think obviously your family and your friends are a big support, but this community here, I could name so many people in this room alone that have supported me as a young person. And so it's a perfect example of when, you know, you support a young person, it's like throwing a pebble into a pond, right? The ripple effect is actually the impact. And, you know, down the line, I hope to be the person that can, you know, impact those future young people as well.
And what stage are you at now with your studies and some other exciting achievements? You've been up to a lot.
I'm counting down the seconds to my last exam. No, I've been very lucky to actually finish a degree. And that's really important to me because there's a lot of people, you know, with similar backgrounds that if they get to university, they can't afford to stay in university. And so I've been fortunate to not only go to university, but experience the things that can come to university with the university. So I've been living overseas and been able to do internships and different things that a lot of young people aren't privileged to do. And, you know, I stand here today being able to say that it's the result of the people around me and the support that I got that meant that I am here. I'm standing here, so I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, and so you should be. What you've told me before your course, it's a pretty interesting one.
It's a bit of a weird mix. So I'm doing business and neuropsychology, but it mostly just came from an interest, I think, to learn about people, I think, and work with people. So that's been really exciting for me.
And one thing we certainly don't expect the people we grant scholarships to give back to Stand Like Stone. It's not an expectation, but it's something you've undertaken to do, and we're in the process of setting up a sub-fund in Jess's name to give back. What prompted that decision to contribute to Stand Like Stone?
I think simply put, if it means another young person, their future is not defined by just their background and their circumstance, but by possibility. If it means they have that belief, but also now the resources to be able to go after whatever their dream is, then that is fantastic.
And it's wonderful to see you reach that stage in life where you're feeling you have the capability to give back, and really great to see that success. I guess one thing I find inspiring that you talk about is just that community wrapping around you, and you've touched on that, but I think it's an important point. A scholarship provides that financial support, but it sort of shows someone's got your back, yeah?
Yeah, definitely, and I think for a lot of young people and those in disadvantaged backgrounds, you know, they've got the internal dialogue of, can I survive or afford this? And when they're given with the resources and the belief, it then turns into, what can I do if I tried? And that's really important because it's now shifting from their circumstance and their background to their potential.
Absolutely. Now, we're excited. We're always impressed to hear you speak about what community means to you and the things you're achieving. And yeah, look forward to continuing to have you involved in Stand Like Stone because you've got so much to offer. Thanks, Jess, and please give her a round of applause. Obviously, providing support for youth is a key element of what Stand Like Stone does, and I'm sure it's a really key element from the very start. And it's got to be central to our future, but expanding our impact and making sure the funds we invest in our community to deliver the greatest impact possible is always a challenge and something we've always got to be keeping on top of on how do we expand what we do. But we're really breaking new ground as a national leader in community foundations that is helping paving a really powerful way forward. And as Georgie shared, after years of advocacy from people well before I was involved, Stand Like Stone this year was endorsed to receive deductible gift recipient status 1 under new tax reforms, and that allowed us to establish the Limestone Coast's own community charity trust under our company Limited by Guarantee. So that's a brand new trust that sits within Stand Like Stone. We're among the first 4 nationally to achieve that status. We're actually the very first in regional South Australia, not regional South Australia, but all of Australia, the whole nation. That's the Limestone Coast and Stand Like Stone once again leading the way, and the fund, as of this month, is now active. It's transformational and one of the steps forward for our foundation. It means that we can now directly fund initiatives ourselves and services. It allows us to draw major philanthropic funds from within the Limestone Coast, but also outside, and bring those funds here. So looking at some of the big players in philanthropy and in foundations in ways that we could never do before. It means we can cut red tape, we can rapidly channel resources to where they're needed most, and there's a lot of discussions now happening around how do we make that effective and impactful. And we're already seeing the momentum. Our partners at 141, a great long-term supporter of our work, they've already contributed $50,000 towards a major housing initiative to support women over the age of 55 that we really hope we can announce next year. And that's something we're working on. But that's just the beginning. The real question is now, what actions can we take together as a community, and that's all of you in the room as well, to really achieve transformation around some of our biggest challenges in the Limestone Coast. With a changing climate and constant alterations to agricultural markets, how do we keep our communities that depend on primary industries resilient? And how do we shift the pendulum toward a more just, fair and equitable Limestone Coast? Georgie mentioned we've got a small staff team of just 2 of us, backed by our directors and committee members. So there's only so much that we can do alone. But together, as a community, with all of you, and with the vehicle of a foundation we can all invest in, that continually evolves, including with this new trust, we can set our own future and drive the changes that we want to see. So what's your role in this? I spoke earlier about my own modest privilege with the benefit of a stable farm upbringing. I learned over my life not everyone enjoyed that same good fortune. I want you to reflect on your own privilege, on the opportunities that shaped your life, your career, your family's well-being. I want you to think about what you can contribute to help others overcome barriers that they may face, so that they can thrive too. It might be volunteering at one of the excellent organisations across the Limestone Coast. Maybe you're part of a business, and thanks to the businesses that are already here doing this that are sponsors and partners in our work, but maybe that could be you. Maybe you can donate, whether that's tonight or as part of a regular giving to help us build our impact further. Maybe you want to think about leaving a gift in your will, a bequest that keeps driving positive outcomes long after you're gone. Every contribution matters and is dedicated to positive outcomes right here in the Limestone Coast. I want to conclude with a special opportunity tonight to contribute and be among the first to support a timely giving campaign. I'm excited to launch our Back to School 2026 appeal. And I've talked about while our focus throughout the rest of the year is investing money received. In this special case, we are rolling out impact straight away to those who need it most through our new community charity trust. We're calling for donations to provide $50 vouchers for children in the Limestone Coast who need essentials to start school with confidence. The vouchers will help vulnerable families purchase uniforms, shoes, stationery and school bags, the basics every child needs to feel included and are ready to learn, but unfortunately are out of reach for some kids and their families. Vouchers go directly to schools for distribution to families who need them most. This year we're aiming to raise $30,000 to support 600 students from across the Limestone Coast, and I think we can get there. I urge you to consider what you can contribute. Every contribution makes a difference to help ensure every child can start school with confidence. So I'm about to wrap up, and you enjoy some food and drinks, and thanks again to the Tennyson College crew for doing some outstanding catering. You're in for a treat. And that's all being generously provided. There's no charge at the door. And if you're not in a position to contribute, that's fine. But if you're able, I encourage you to consider a donation or take home a flyer and consider what you can contribute, knowing every $50 makes a small but significant change in a young life. And 5% of the funds raised will also support our ongoing operations to deliver impact across the Limestone Coast. So if you'd like to donate tonight, please see Sally, our superstar in the Stan Lakestone office, the one other employee in addition to me. We work pretty closely together in there. She supported me from the moment I walked in the door. And only a couple of months ago, she actually marked 15 years of service with the Stan Lakestone Foundation. It's been here 20 years. She's been here 24 years. The next thing on my notes was to ask you guys for a round of applause, but hey, you got the cue, I think they're going to need that. Sally's sitting up there, so say hello. If you want to contribute, Sally will share with you the various ways you can. There's a couple of ways, we'll make it easy for you. So thanks all of you for being here. Thanks to the donors, sponsors, volunteers, and everyone who contributes in so many ways. We're nothing without the communities that support Stan Lakestone. Thank you for your generosity, your attention tonight, your compassion and your belief in what's possible when a community stands together, when a community stands like stone. I'm going to wrap up there. We're going to play some highlights from Swinging with the Stars 2025 on screen in a moment. I encourage you to stay for some time, have a chat. Georgie and I, and there's other directors and other people with, and I have to say, people with a better knowledge of Stan Lakestone than I have at this stage. So make the most of the chance to talk and connect and learn more about us and share a bit of yourself and what you do in the community. We'd love to hear about it. And thanks for being here.